welcome to yet another episode. What we've got here is an Elgato Stream Deck. I've been asked a couple of times on how I actually do my videos. I do use a video editor, but sometimes what I do is just do everything through here and do everything through OBS, and it kicks it out all one big file, and it looks like I've edited everything together, but actually I haven't. I've done it in real time by pressing buttons on here. I'm not going to explain exactly how everything's set up, because that's quite a detailed thing. If anyone's interested, or I get a few people that are interested, I will explain how I've actually set things up in OBS along with the Stream Deck, so that they can set it up as well for something that they want to do. Now, I also use this for my own personal use in the realms of game playing and loading up stuff. So what we've got up here is an icon for a gamepad, and obviously I've got GTA 5 icon there, and in this folder I've got the different launchers for many of the different systems. I'm sure you can recognize lots of different icons there. And then I also have this one where basically it's for my emulation. So I've got Scum MV and I've got DOSBox. Let's go back, and then we've got the Elgato capture software itself, so that's their icons. I've also stuck on another icon of what you saw before, but again, and that what it actually does is launch the application itself. I have asked Elgato to make it possible so that you could actually press an icon for a folder and it launched, but they say that basically that will cause more problems than it's worth, so I can only take their word for it. But this does work for the needs that I want to use it for. And then we've got OBS. Again, I've got another icon for the app itself, but then I've got different folders for different subsections of what I want to do. So just so I can see it myself a little bit, I've got computers, consoles, 3D printing, emulators, show and tell, and MIDI tower. And what I've got, just for example, we're going to computers, the different computers that I want to be able to capture in OBS, and the different ways I want to do it. And as you see at the start of my episodes, I have it at Fairfight 14 comes on the left hand side, and then the subject scrolls in and from the right hand side. And what I've done in OBS is done this again and again and again and again, so that I can have different scenes for different things. And so for example, if I press this 6128 plus, if I actually press some buttons here, things would change. I'm going to leave it as being show and tell at the moment, but you might ask why I've got a waiting one and so on. Well, the waiting one is basically just the very first image that you see, which is this chap here. Well, you can just sort of see him, but you know the chap that's, he's floating around. What I have is that's just one frame within OBS. Basically it starts there, so when I start recording I press record, then I press intro, and then the intro setup in OBS by using some plugins that you can get, that it'll all by itself will skip across to this particular icon, and then that one is the one that I use for I am now recording, and it should slide in with Fairfight 14 and it should slide in with 6128 plus. And then after it's finished, when I'm wanting to finish, I press outro, and then with the outro obviously it plays my outro, and then it is also set up automatically so that it actually stops the recording. So I don't have to press it just at the right time, it does it all at the right time. I have to know how long my intro is, sorry, my outro is, because I've created that in the video editing software, and my new one happens to be 23 seconds long, and I basically, after 23 seconds, it knows that it should end the recording. It doesn't know the length of the video file, it just knows it should stop after 23 seconds. So I can do that. And this icon, as you may have seen on some of my videos, I like to have just in the bottom right hand side this top down view, and it goes big and small again. That controls that. And then I used to have, but I've not really used it since, is that when I was loading a game I pressed this and you would get a little video of a tape spinning round. And obviously I can control my microphone and my audio desk, and the desktop. And while I'm actually streaming, because obviously I've got the recording button, but I've got streaming, and the rest of it all works exactly the same way. It's just if I decide to stream directly to YouTube, I get to see how many people have actually come along and looked at the stream in real time. So I don't have to keep checking on some other monitor just to see. I can see directly here on the Stream Deck. Going back, it's basically the same again, but different computers. And that's the same for everything else that I've got set up that way. Basically, I've got it just the way that I need it for that particular scenario. I've also got this Twitter button, which allows me to throw out to Twitter automatically that I'm now streaming live, and it changes my name to that it's got that recording button that lots of people like to put on if they're doing live, and it takes that back off again. And obviously if I've now finished, I can send out a tweet, haha, you've missed me. And then we've got the World Wide Web, which basically just takes me to a couple of places, but I don't really use this too often. And then of course we've got Discord and Twitch. So Discord, all it does for me is it launches Discord, and the same for Twitch by pressing this icon, but the rest of them does the controls on there. I haven't really got into using Twitch yet, but I do plan on doing it in the future when I start playing more games online for people to see. But basically that just gives you the different controls, and then it'll also show you the counter as well, I believe, for that one. And then on here for the Twitter, just because I want it on the main page as well, I've got the same controls as I did when I'm doing OBS. And this one allows me to control the Elgato LED light setup that they have. I've got one of those, so just to show you, I can drop it down to 20%, 40 and so on, and change the director to 50%. I can change the warmth of the light if I've changed it on in the application itself. I don't tend to change that, but that basically takes me back to a default. And of course I can turn it off and on again, which gives me a lot of control sat right here, and I don't have to mess around and get up and flick light switches and everything like that while I'm doing things live. The secret is I've got this off shot, and you can see that say in my last video, not my last video, the video that I did about the running belts, I turned the light off in there so that you could actually see the LED on the running belt. That was because I could do that. Obviously this one's for my microphone, I can mute that on and off, that easy. This one I've set it up using an application on in Windows. I can basically skip backwards and forwards for using the speakers or using my headphones. And again, if I'm happen to be streaming and I'm bouncing around through other things, I get to see how many people are there. So all in all, that's what this does. You can change profile so it does an awful lot more. You can also do up animations, you can set up soundboards if you so wish. There's an awful lot that you can do with these Stream Decks. I would recommend any streamer that's out there that's wanting to do this sort of thing, it's a good way of doing it. Obviously you can have shortcuts and everything on your keyboard, and if you can remember what all they are, that's great, but having icons does make it a little bit easier. But set up correctly, it's not just for retail streaming. You can set it up so that if you're doing recordings, you can bounce in between different cameras, you can jump in between you know, making the video shot big and small, but you just got to set it up and beforehand so that you can get everything done the way that you want it to be done. Now, one thing I do want to say is that I'd like to give out a big shout out to Retrotech Ralph for being my very first patron. He's quite graciously got me going for the first month of having any patrons at all. So if you do want to do that sort of thing as well, please see the description below. I've also got a Discord channel, which is also in the description below if you'd like to come and join that, so we can start hanging out and start chatting a lot more. It's a little bit small at the moment. There's a few people that have joined, and I'm fully aware that lots of people have joined other channels already and they want to hang out in there, but if you haven't really started on some other channel, come join my little channel at the moment and become one of the major players in down the line sort of thing. So all in all, I'm going to go back into actually stopping this recording. So as always, happy gaming.